Little People, Big Dreams, John Lennon. Written by Maria Isabel Sanchez Vegara. Illustrated by Octavia Brummel. John was a little boy in Liverpool in the midst of a great war. From his crib he could hear the bombs falling. But once he fell asleep, all he dreamt about was that one day there would be peace on earth. His dad left to work at sea when he was 4, and John moved in with his eldest aunt, Mimi. They were often visited by John's mum, who showed him how to play the banjo and bought him his first guitar. At school, John was a bit of a troublemaker, and his grades were never great. Still, his teachers thought he could do well studying arts at college. All day long he played with pencils and paper. John formed a band with some schoolmates, and soon a guy called Paul joined them. Paul was more into pop, while John was more of a rock and roll rebel. Together they wrote the most simple and beautiful songs. They changed their name to the Beatles and started to perform at a well-known club called the Cavern, where everyone laughed at John's antics. One day, he even played wearing a toilet seat around his neck. A stylish guy called Brian became their manager and promised to make them famous if they met 2 simple conditions: exchange their leather jackets for tailored suits and start behaving properly on stage. Soon after their first single, Love Me Do, was released, John, Paul, Ringo and George became the most popular band in the world. Wherever the Fab Four went, crowds of teenagers greeted them, waving signs. They were the first band ever to perform in a giant stadium. John couldn't wait to listen to 55,000 voices singing together. Still, fans ended up being more interested in screaming. He could not even hear himself sing. Lying on his king-size bed, John dreamt of making a friend who didn't know about his band. Everybody knew him as a Beatle, yet no one actually knew the real John at all. He met a Japanese artist called Yoko at a gallery in London where her work was being exhibited. Yoko gave John a card that said nothing but breathe, and they were together from that day on. After 12 albums together, full of some of the greatest songs in the history of music, John knew it was time to say goodbye to the Beatles. He left the band behind to go his own way, but he never abandoned music. Yoko and John welcomed the world to their honeymoon, setting up a peace camp in their hotel room. They sang a song from bed that became an anthem for the anti-war movement. And after a life spent trying to find peace inside himself, little John is still remembered as one of the greatest songwriters, the one who keeps inspiring us to imagine a world where all people live in peace. John Lennon was born in Liverpool in 1940. He grew up with his Aunt Mimi, with regular visits from his mother, Julia. It was Julia who introduced John to music, teaching him the banjo and piano and buying him his first guitar. John loved to express himself through art and music, so much so that he stopped doing all his schoolwork. Inspired by rock and roll artists like Elvis Presley, John formed a band with some school friends, the Quarrymen. After a performance at a village fete, John met Paul McCartney, and the two became best friends and partners in music. Paul was a great guitarist with an ear for pop music magic, while John was a rebel spirit with plenty of witty lyrics. With their joint songwriting leading the way, a new band took shape, the Beatles. John, Paul, George Harrison and Ringo Starr took their simple, catchy love songs to a global audience when they toured the US. This sparked a wave of popularity for the band, dubbed Beatlemania. Over the next few years, the Beatles would reinvent their music again and again. Nothing was off limits, including ideas they picked up while travelling. Respect and understanding between different cultures was one of John's strongest beliefs. Together, he and artist Yoko Ono promoted peace and tolerance around the world. They wrote beautiful songs that were sung by millions in anti-war marches and staged their own protest with love at the centre. The world was shocked to lose John when he was still young. His memory is kept alive by anyone who shares a dream with a friend, hums along to a Beatles tune, or dares to imagine a better world.